妈妈给你准备了一副钥匙，大的是大门的，小的是客厅的。家里的钥匙，你应该有一副的。你的家，随时可以回来。
On retrouve encore votre manière passionnante
Once again, we
de
recognize your very
filmer
exciting
votre pays,
way
de
of
rendre compte des
filming your
bouleversements qui se
country
passent
and
dans ce
describing
pays.
all of
Vous
the upheavals
filmez le
in your
pays, vous
country.
filmez le
You
peuple
film
également,
the
une nouvelle fois,
country,
et puis
the
aussi
people,
des personnages
and
que vous avez
individuals
créés pour ce film,
whom you have created for the film. These are individuals who are losing their ancestral values.
L'individualisation, parce que
Is that what you want to focus on in your film?
Chaque individu en Chine.
Et il se trouve effectivement, j'ai toujours mon thème favori.
Indeed, there's. I love to observe what's going on in China. Over the past 2 or 3 years, I've really been taking a closer look at what's happening at the level of people's feelings. Perhaps it's something to do with my own age. I'm a bit more mature now. I've been making films for 15 years now, and I get the feeling that gradually I'm starting to understand things differently in terms of relationships, sentiments, feelings. And so I'd like to tie that in with the way the country is changing, the economy, technology, and how that impacts feelings and how people manage their feelings. So that's why I've made this film.
On suit les personnages dans leur évolution sentimentale.
Allow space for the characters to evolve. As a filmmaker in China today, is it easier to make films than it was in the past?
De faire des films en Chine et les films que vous voulez en Chine.
The films that you want to make.
我觉得
On peut dire que c'est quand même de plus en plus
One could say that it's easier to make films insofar as gradually society is starting to understand what an independent filmmaker actually does.
Et l'importance, la valeur que ça peut avoir dans une
They also
société.
recognize how much value that can have.
Travail qui se fait petit à petit.
So gradually we are finding our way and finding a place in society.
Qui évolue aussi.
The society is evolving at breakneck speed. It's very important not to leave culture behind as the economy advances. So from this point of view, things are easier. Understand how and why their feelings evolve.
Zhang-Ke, vous qui le côtoyez, qui
Do
tournez
you
dans
feel
tous ces
that
films, à la
JIA
fois comme
Zhang-Ke has
cinéaste et comme homme?
evolved as a filmmaker and as a man? Because you've been in all of his films and of course you are his wife in real life.
我觉得贾樟柯在这一次
Indeed, of course he's changed. The most obvious thing in his work this time was that I saw that he was a filmmaker who for the very first time stuck to the screenplay making the film. And quite paradoxically, that gave me a greater space for inventing, and we discussed a lot about how I was playing my role, so it was a huge help for me. And there are other changes which I've noted in JIA Zhang-Ke, in the way that he produces his films. And he works like one does internationally on the international stage. The actors and the actresses now are given more freedom, because in China that's not been the tradition, and so there's no extra pressure. So it's becoming more relaxed now.
Vous tournez en anglais là dans ce film. On a l'impression que l'avenir du chinois, c'est de parler anglais.
Is this the way Chinese films are going in general? Is English the future of Chinese films? Do more and more people speak English? Are more and more people losing those linguistic roots?
J'ai autour de moi de nombreux amis qui parlent
nombreuses langues, who speak many languages, Italian, French, and many other languages also. Of course, we all want to improve our lives. We all want to blend into the international scene. However, one has to be very careful not to lose your mother tongue, because if you do that, you lose your roots. There's a young boy in the the film, for example, who all of a sudden can't talk to his father. And that's something we must be very wary of. One might wonder if someone who emigrates no longer speaks their mother tongue, will that person one day be able to go back to the country where they were born? And that's one of the questions that the film addresses. There are some things which we should change, and there are other things which we should hold on to.
I read in the booklet that the Chinese title of your movie is translated like "Friends are like mountains and rivers." And the same words, mountains and waters, describe traditional Chinese painting. And so I would like to know how far the Chinese painting, Chinese visual tradition influenced your visual style, or maybe it's European references.
中国的自然环境改变其实特别大，就是因为比如说新的这种工厂、科技、铁路、公路，它会把整个山脉、整个空间就是破坏。有时候我自己这个坐车回乡，到了这个离开城市，其实好像我的脑子有一个功能，就是把那些比如说把看到的工厂擦掉，把看到的铁路擦掉，你会想象这就是古代。所以古代没有消失，就好像这个电影里面，可能大家也注意到了，有一个少年在99年拿着一把大刀，他是关公的刀，到14年他变成了一个青年人，然后到25年他是一个中年人，他拿着一把大刀。其实总有些东西可能是不会变的。就是整个《山河故人》，我想是在讲快速的变化的社会里面，人的情感怎么被影响。那实际上，如果我们回到人不变的部分，比如说回到人的生老病死、爱情这些永远不会变的东西去观察人的时候，我觉得我们会对情感有一个重新的捕捉、重新的获得。就好像那些山河一样，那些东西是不变的。
Nature in China has been largely destroyed by many things, like the building of factories and roads and all these technological changes which are helping to destroy nature. When I go home and I'm driving in my car, what I often see on the roadside makes me want to use like an IT tool to rub things out. We're destroying nature. It's important to go back to the original nature in Chinese history. It is still present. That makes me think of the character that keeps coming back. It's like a leitmotif in life. It's this young child who has this big saber, and then in the second part you see him again. He's a teenager with the same device, and as an adult he's still holding the saber. This is something that doesn't change. What was important for me in the film was to show to what extent the extremely rapid changes in society have an impact on people's feelings. Sometimes it's important to go back to what is essential, and it's necessary to look at what does not change. That is, the various stages in life, birth, death, disease.
I'd like to ask Mr. JIA Zhang-Ke 2 questions. One, from all the possibilities you had for the future moment of the film, why did you choose Australia? And I'd like you to comment a little bit on the choice of Pet Shop Boys Go West for the wonderful beginning and the end of the film. Thank you.
Thank you. 我听懂了。sorry， 其实我一开始的时候，就是为了拍这个电影，我去了很多国家， 去找我那些移民到国外的朋友，去他们的家庭。我去了纽约，去了华盛顿，去了温哥华、多伦多，也去了墨尔本。那最后我决定在澳大利亚拍，因为澳大利亚其实它离中国并没有那么遥远，坐飞机7、8个小时从香港、上海就过去了。但是它在南半球，它的气候跟中国正好相反。当澳大利亚是夏天的时候，中国正好是下大雪，然后是冬天，它好像是一个非常遥远的一个地方。那在这个电影里面，我觉得后来就决定把这个地方放在澳大利亚。它不是一个物理距离的遥远，是一个心理的遥远。
In fact, I've traveled a lot. I've traveled around the world, and I've visited many friends who have migrated. I went to New York, to Washington, to Toronto, to Melbourne, for example. And in the end, I chose Australia. It's not too far from China, only 7 to 8 hours by plane. And above all, we're not in the same hemisphere. When it's summer in China, it's winter in Australia, and vice versa.
Ce choix, c'était pas uniquement un choix dans le fait que cette terre est éloignée sur le plan physique de la Chine.
It's not just that Australia is far from China geographically. It's I wanted to depict this distance in terms of feelings as well.
这个记忆有很密切的关联，因为90年代中的时候，中国开始有很多 disco， 我就年轻人非常喜欢去跳舞，我自己也那个时候每到周末就会疯。那个时候最喜欢的就是《Go With》这首歌，给我留下很深的印象。因为每到这个放这首歌的时候，整个迪厅里面的年轻人，不管认识还是不认识，我们会排起队，一直往前走。它有一种对我来说是迪厅的一个仪式，它让我到现在想起来都是那种充满了血性的，充满了一种这种可以这个抵达任何地方的这种行动能力的一种记忆。所以在构思这个电影的时候，想到电影的开头要从90年代开始，马上就想起了这首歌。其实对我来说 ，With 不重要，重要的是 Go， 是要往前走。
Quant à l'utilisation de la chanson, le choix de la chanson Go West,
the choice of the song Go West, it reminded me of the 90s. At the time, we listened to a lot of disco music. Young people danced every weekend. I couldn't wait to listen to disco music and dance, and it's one of the moments I appreciated most. We got together amongst our friends. We were all young people, and whenever this song came on, we would all line up and start dancing together. It was like a sort of a ritual, which I'm deeply attached to. We were full of life. It was an effervescent atmosphere. The dance, we felt, could lead us anywhere in the world. It was very powerful. In the film, when I wanted to illustrate the 90s, I thought about this song. The word West for me is not really important. What's really important is the word Go.
我觉得我们每个人都要面临很多生命里面的不能改变的事情，像中国哲学里所说的生老病死这些事儿。我只是想通过这个电影，让我们能够回到 这个生命的本源，然后去思考我们应该怎么处理感情，怎么处理我们的生活。
In this film, or with this film, I want people to start thinking about what we can do to improve everything that's happening with feelings and human beings. The human being is faced with birth, life, death. We all need to be a bit more humble and get back to the basic things in life. A Touch of Sin was a huge success here in France and around the world as well. I don't know how it was received in China. Is that a problem, or does that encourage you to want to work with him even more?
我觉得不是一个问题，因为我们已经把这个电影拍完了。我觉得只是一个时间性的一个问题，不是一个重要的问题。
It's a question of time. For us, the important thing is to have completed this particular project and
Can I tell you all my crazy feelings? I'm calling out to you.